to 115,000.
It
So
just bill, which was 115,000, we had to take it all out of litigation reserve.
Do you understand?
The-
I think a better question is, what is your projection to the end of the year?
to the end of the year,
Or to the end of the budget year?
to the end of the budget year, we would imagine we've got August and September left. So I would estimate about 60 to 65,000 each month, because we do have a lot of lawsuits that are being filed right now for this year, for 2021, and those have to be responded to by the attorneys. So I would say by the end of our fiscal year, that 180,000 that we have will probably end up to be about 40,000. So we are going to have to refill that encumbered fund quickly.
But we're not going to have to do it this budget year.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh, no, not for this one.
Not
We'll
for
be
this
okay.
budget year.
Right, we won't have to take anything anywhere. We'll make this year. But going into 2021, 22 budget, we'll have to replenish the encumbered funds.
Which starts in October.
Right, which will be October 1, and it's on the agenda to do that. Yeah, I would imagine between 60 to 65,000 for the next 2 months each month, a rough estimate, because we do have a lot of responses. And because the hearings, the timely protest hearings are over, we'll pick back up on our mediations and deliberations with the folks that have filed the lawsuits. Those have picked up now. In fact, we just met with the mediators just recently. We had mediations, I think it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So yeah, that's picked up. So we'll probably have about less than 100,000 left over at the end. But we'll still be in the black, so to speak.
so
We
this
won't be in
budget
the
year
red.
will be
Yes, sir.
affected. It's what we need to do for the next budget
Correct.
year for the
Yes, sir.
encumbered fund.
Yes, sir. Correct.
Thank you. Are there any other questions regarding the financials? Hearing no other questions.
Thank you.
Or other discussion, is there a motion to approve the financial reports for July of 2021?
Motion to approve, Chairman?
Second. Have a motion from Mr. Avalos, a second from Mr. Mena. Is there further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion does carry. We can go to item number 4, a presentation from the Wardlaw Appraisal Group, LC.
Mr. Miller, I would appreciate if we could jump to item number 5 and 6. Those are discussion and possible action items. And we do have a board member that will have to leave early, so we would like to take care of those first and do the presentations after if possible.
Since number 4 leads into number 5, that's why I took it like that.
Okay.
So that if we could have at least the introduction, so that we
Okay.
will have that item before us, and then if it can be abbreviated presentation, fine. But I think we should hear part of their presentation.
Yes, sir.
Because that's why they're on the agenda.
Okay, well, Mr. Miller, then let me introduce Peggy Wardlaw. Y'all know Ms. Wardlaw. She's given reports before. She is one of the principal owners of Wardlaw Appraisal Group, and she'll give you a presentation over the finalizing of the 2021 year. And Ms. Peggy Wardlaw, if you'll kind of move things along.
I will. I will run through this quickly. We'll
And
see if we
everybody
can't get
should
this
have
done
a
in 5 or
copy.
10 minutes. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. So I printed out the presentation so we can just kind of go through it really quickly. The first page is just a year-to-year comparison. It's been fairly flat for 2019, 2020, and 2021, with certified values in the range of $3.7 billion that's just the properties that we appraise. So the next page, the 2021 notices of appraised value. This has been an issue that we've tried to work with the CAD on, is streamlining the notice process. They requested of us when we first got the contract that instead of giving all of the values at one time, which makes it difficult for them to review, get those all put in the system, and then get the notices out really quickly, the appraisal district requested that we send the notices over in smaller batches so that then they can check them, put them in the system, and get all the notices out more quickly. So we've done that for the past so many years. And for this year, we sent our first batch of notices out on April the 5th with 7% of the accounts, and that's kind of our test thing. So we see how that works, if it goes in the system properly, and if it's easy then for the appraisal district to get the notices out. I'll just go through quickly then. We sent the final batch on May 19th. So let's go to the next page. So, am I going too fast?
No.
Okay. So we've worked, like I said, we've worked with El Paso Appraisal District to optimize this process. In the beginning, right, this year, every year they set us some dates. And they said, we want the first batch of notices at least by May the 7th, and then the final batch of notices by May 21st. So we sent 57% of the notice values to the appraisal district prior to their very first request date, and that all of the notices were sent to them prior to the May 21st date so that they could then get them in the mail, which then gives the taxpayers time to file their protest and us time then to contact the protesting property owners and request information and try to work out something for the valuation. The next page is the certified values, tax years in review. And I'm not going to go through that, but you can see that for each of the school districts, what the values have been over time. They have consistently gone up. When we took over El Paso, the appraisal in 2015, in 2014, the values being appraised, the companies being appraised, had a value of about $2.7 billion. The first year that we did the accounts, the value went up to $3.3 billion roughly. Since that time, the values have increased over time. The next page.
And a reminder, this is just on the accounts that they represent.
Right, this
that
is
they
just on the
work for us.
accounts
It's not the whole
No,
roll.
this is just the accounts that we appraise. Let me explain that we appraise all of the utility accounts and then the major industrial accounts, such as refineries, plants, industrial manufacturing, and so forth, hospitals. This year, we're going to begin performing on-site inspections, assuming that it is renewed, of all properties beginning in October. We start trying to perform these inspections early because we have to make appointments. We try to inspect the properties, all of them, and we have to make appointments because these are all major manufacturing properties that we have to go in. So we have to make appointments to go in. So it takes a long time to do these inspections. We utilize iPads for note-taking, and we make video and audio recordings of the sites when it's permitted. A lot of times they won't allow us to do this, so that we can do a better job of making sure that the values are correct. So last year, COVID, and due to the pandemic, these companies were not allowing anybody into their facilities but required personnel. So last year we were unable to do a lot of the inspections that we normally do. So a lot of those inspections last year were done by video conference, as a lot of other things were done due to COVID. This year, we're really going to try to get in and do more on-site inspections of the plants, although the video worked pretty well because essentially the plant manager would walk around the plant with a video camera, and we would get similar results to what we had for the on-site inspections. On the next page, I want to point out that our number one priority, this is my husband Malcolm, and he and I started the company 36 years ago. And at that point in time, we said our number one priority is customer satisfaction. And our customers are the appraisal district, because that's who we work with on a daily basis, but it's also the taxpayers. So with the taxpayers, we try to have a close relationship with the taxpayers. We are engineers and appraisers, and it's our job to get a fair value. But we need information. So it's super important that we form relationships with these taxpayers, these large taxpayers in particular, because they need to give us the information that we need to make a good appraisal. For example, on hospitals, when we first started doing hospitals, we would get a rendition that would say, oh, $23 million. And that first year, we had to kind of fight with them on it. And we said, no, that's not sufficient. We have to have a detailed report from your accounting system of what personal property you have in the hospital. And some of them gave us some pushback, and some of them gave it to us immediately. But now we have a really good relationship with the hospitals. So every year, they just provide a detailed rendition to us so we can do a proper appraisal of the hospitals. Also, dialysis centers. As you're aware, you're getting more and more hospitals, more and more dialysis centers, and we require them to send us detailed reports on all of their personal property. One of the things we do when we get a protest, we don't wait on that taxpayer to call us. Many times they will call us, but when they don't, we give them a call, we make contact with them, and we try to resolve that protest. The next page is just essentially what I just told you, that we establish taxpayer contact, and that we always treat all taxpayers politely and respectfully. This is one of the ways that we have been able to maintain value without having lawsuits. So when we took over, the Western Refining had been in lawsuit year after year after year. We were able to make a relationship with the tax reps from El Paso, from Western Refining, which is now owned by Marathon. And since then, we have been able to get a fair valuation with no lawsuits and no expenditures from lawsuits. The property value study is a really important thing, especially for your school districts. Every year, the comptroller's office, called PTAD, the Property Tax Assistance Division, they're going to insist that they're assisting us, does what they call a ratio study. And that ratio study, they go in, the state goes in, and they make an appraisal of certain properties, utility properties. Then they decide, okay, our value is the correct value. Whatever your value is different from our value, then you can be penalized for that. And your school district can lose state funding if your ratio is bad. So this year we discovered a problem with the way the state was handling the utility ratios. As soon as we became aware of it, we immediately contacted the state. We worked with the appraisal district. We filed appeals, and we were able to correct the state's methodology so that then this El Paso ISD was able to get their values within the state guidelines, because that's what we do. We immediately work and try to fix things if something happens like that. I think the second page just tells you what I just said about the error that the state made with the property value study this year. And in conclusion, I just want to talk about your two largest taxpayers. El Paso Electric signed a settlement and waiver on a value of $663 million this past year. They agreed to a 14% increase in value on their distribution accounts. The distribution accounts are the accounts they have with their wires and their substations that's in all the districts, all of the cities, all of the school districts and so forth. They agreed to a 14% increase. They did not have any more generation this year. They didn't build new generation, but there was still a small increase in their generation account because of some pollution control things that they had put in. And then Western Refining. Although, as you're well aware, gasoline and jet fuel demand and prices hit historic lows in 2020, Western Refining agreed informally prior to the ARB to a value of over $437 million on their accounts. Because we were able to secure a settlement, there was no litigation associated with either Western Refinery or El Paso Electric. And this is because of the way that we handle the appraisals. Are there any questions?
Just something that occurred, or is there any reason that you continue to refer to that as Western Refining, or?
It's Marathon. They actually asked us, Marathon purchased it 3 years ago, I believe, and we spoke with them at that time about what they wanted it to be called, and they said they were still calling it Western.
Okay.
And, of course, it's Marathon Western now, but I believe even on the tax rolls, it's still Western at the request of Marathon.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
Also, I want to point out there's a big, as you probably know, a big Amazon facility coming in and being built, 625,000 square feet, which we expect to be tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars worth of both personal property and inventory. And so we're kind of excited to take that on and get a good appraisal on that facility as well.
We've already initiated on that one. We've already kind of initiated the first field review, field check. Our staff goes with Wardlaw when they come in. Mallory Crane comes in, and of course, Ms. Wardlaw comes in, and our staff goes along with these meetings. And we've already kind of started that with Amazon. So, Socorro, yay.
Yes.
How long does it take you to conduct a survey, I guess is what you do, right? On, say, Western Refinery or
An inspection or a appraisal or?
appraisal? How many man hours are involved in that?
On Western, it's probably close to 80 or 90 man hours, if not more.
And that probably doesn't include, because normally, Ms. Wardlaw and I meet with a gentleman by the name of Chip Toomey,
Chip Toomey, yeah.
Toomey, that he's in charge of that, and we meet in person 2-3 times throughout the process. But because of COVID, we did conference calls, Zoom meetings, and so I don't think that even includes the time that we meet face-to-face with the representative from Marathon.
And
It takes a lot.
And you do all the major corporations or every commercial property in
Yeah.
the county?
No,
No, not every commercial property, just the larger commercial and industrial, and all the utilities, I believe.
they're engineers, and so they do the utilities, they do the refinery, the electric company. They handle the fixed assets, the equipment of the hospitals, because that is so unique. All this computer equipment and these technical equipment that the hospitals are now using for surgeries. And so they have access to that type of data that they can then be able to set a better
What
appraisal.
about like Union Pacific?
MRI machines and that kind of thing. Union Pacific we do as well. It's a unit appraisal where we look at the value of the company as a whole, and we research the value of the whole company. And then there's a lot of intricate details having to do with taxes and how those taxes are accounted for, and deferred taxes, and and that kind of thing. So, and Burlington Northern, and is there another one y'all have here?
Santa Fe, BF,
Yeah, that's UP now. They got bought.
just the two.
I think it's BNSF is the other one in Union Pacific here.
Well, sounds like yes.
And then Texas Gas Services is kind of your third largest taxpayer. And then you've got a lot of pipeline companies that run through. And the storage tanks, all the storage tanks and the inventory. We had a big ARB hearing with Valero this year that we had to do a lot of extra research on based on the argument that it should be in interstate commerce. So we did a lot of work to learn about the legal aspects of when it's in interstate commerce and when it's not. And we had a very successful ARB hearing on that case where the board decided that in fact it should be taxed here in El Paso. Was 10 or 11 million dollars, I believe.
Yeah, they handle oil and gas in a lot of the other counties in Texas, and so the pipelines, they have the data on the pipelines, and believe it or not, we have several main pipelines that
Yeah,
run
you
through
do.
here.
You have a lot of pipelines running through here.
Yeah.
Some of your larger accounts are pipeline accounts.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
report.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now then, we can get to item number 5, discussion and possible action regarding Ward Law Appraisal Group LC contract.
Yes, sir. Board members, we would like to extend the contract for 3 years. And as you heard in their presentation, and I can confirm, they have made some very good connections with being able to get more detailed information. It's very difficult when you change appraisal firms. They have to start over again with making that contact and that connectability. We've been very pleased with the work they've done. They've included the appraisal district in their decisions and their field work where we had issues before. We wouldn't know that people were even out here, what they were doing. So there's 5 companies in Texas that do this. The last couple of times we did go out to quotes. We only had Wardlaw and one other company that did submit. Wardlaw has got the connections. Number one, she was able to get a connection with us with the refinery, which we've been able to work with and sign off on waivers. So we don't have that litigation expense, whereas before, every year we were having a lawsuit with them. We would just like to extend this for 3 years. We're currently paying them $400,000. It is budgeted. So we would like to extend it for 3 years, maybe a possible of a 2-year option at board discretion, but at least the 3 years. We would appreciate it. We cycle around. Every 3 years, we must do a reappraisal. This was a reappraisal year. But in these type of properties, we reappraise every year. But that's why we like the 3-year cycle in the contract. What you were sent is their existing contract, which will go out because October 1 is a new fiscal year, and we start with the reappraisal of the 2022. So that's why we're asking for that now.
And this is probably a question for legal, but you're requesting an extension of this contract. However, that is not spoken to in the terms of the existing contract. So this would require a new contract?
My understanding is that because this is a professional services contract, and I believe that it's a very limited pool of providers, and I think that this might fall under that kind of exception, and that's been the history of it as far as I know.
And normally what happens in the past, board members, is you approve the company, and then we go in and we do the contract.
Okay, and I'm not objecting to that, but I don't know about your experience, but nearly all of our contracts set a term, and it's either a 2-year term with a 3-year option or 3 optional year terms.
Right, and that's what we're asking basically. This contract that's here is the existing. So what we would do is take the existing contract and amend it or correct it to a new term, which could be a 3-year term with a 2-year option or whatever the board would like. We're asking for a 3-year term, possibly with the 2-year options. We would just redo this contract for a new term and the new rate.
I think your concern is because the terms of the existing contract do not include a provision, an option to extend or to renew. Is that the
That's my
problem?
question
Yeah.
is
It would be a new contract.
without that provision in the contract, would not we have to have a new agreement, basically a new agreement?
Right.
It may say the same thing, but it's got to be a new agreement. Does that trigger any other a procurement?
No, sir.
procurement
They're professional services, just like an attorney or a CPA, so we don't have to go through any of the process. It would be that's why on the agenda, it didn't say renew, it didn't say a new contract or renewal contract, so we can do a new contract with the same stipulations other than correction to the term.
What you can do is approve the issuance of a new contract conditioned on a satisfactory explanation as to how it falls into the exception to the procurement provisions.
And I think I'm looking more at semantics here, but this isn't a renewal. My point being, this isn't a renewal
No,
of the contract, it's a new contract.
it's a new contract,
To issue a
yes.
new contract.
It's a new
So
contract.
should there be a motion towards this effect? This is not a renewal, it's
No.
actually the issuance of a new contract.
Right, it's an issuance of a new contract with this
Different
company
terms.
for 3 years. Similar terms, everything's similar to the old contract with a change in the terms,
Right.
I have a question.
in the time. Yes, ma'am.
Please.
So you said on the new one, it'll be at 400,000.
Well, no, they're currently at 400. We're
Okay.
currently paying them
So I
400,000.
noticed in the old one, 2019, 2021, it had a 5,000
Yes, ma'am.
or a difference. What, do we know what the new terms would be that they're
They could be
asking?
similar. They could be similar. It's up to the board. They could be very similar
We
to the
don't
same.
have an idea, though, of what they're wanting or asking
Okay.
for the 3
Yeah,
years?
I'm a little confused now. You're asking us to approve a contract, but we don't know the amounts yet.
The amount would
Or the
be,
terms.
huh?
Well, because we don't know the terms yet either, because you said the board could choose to do an optional, like, we're looking at doing another 3 years plus another optional 2 years, right? So
Right.
that's also along the same lines of
Right.
what
So-
you
Along the same lines,
Right, so it'd be a new contract for a term of 3 years. The recommendation from the appraisal district is a new contract for a 3-year term beginning October 1 of 2021 for 3 years with a board-approved 2-year option at a dollar amount of $405,000 the first year, $410,000 the second year, $415,000 the third year, and the option would be determined by the board of directors at the time of renewal.
Which is October 1st,
October 1st,
which is
2021.
2021,
2021.
yes. That would be the recommendation of the appraisal
So we're
district,
going up that extra
5,000.
5,000 a year.
Right.
And because we are adding more properties, like the new Amazon, that will take quite a bit to do. And hopefully, if the other deal comes through that they're talking about in the west, northeast.
So this contract didn't include the optional additional years?
No, sir,
on
it did
That's why
not.
we're having to go
Yeah,
through.
that's why we're having this
Exactly,
discussion. Because we
exactly.
didn't have the terms in this year. So
Right.
I don't object to the contract and it seems satisfactory, but I think we ought to get the semantic right in the
Sure.
contract. And so it would be actually be a new.
A new
issue.
contract.
Yeah, because you couch it as an amendment to the current contract in the beginning. That's what I heard, right? And so that's why, I mean.
Yeah, I
feel
think
like
that's why we need
Yeah,
to go.
no, it's actually, and that, I apologize, I may have said it incorrectly, but it is a new contract with Wardlaw Appraisal Group for 3 years beginning October 1, 2021, with a board-approved 2-year option
And a $5,000 increase year over year.
for the 3 years, and then at the option, it'll be board discretion at that time to determine what the amount would be.
So we need a motion for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and I think, please, should you make that motion, please include the fact that this is reliant on the discussion that we had here and the terms that we had here. Please add that to your motion. I don't know that we need the figures, but it's certainly we need to indicate that that was agreed to by this board.
The amounts.
Well, yes, the increases
The option.
and the options were agreed to here. But that needs to be part of that motion because we have no backup.
Right.
In another
But we
way.
also are going to need to, are we going to need to review the contract once it's written again?
No,
or
it'll
will
be,
okay?
it'll be exactly like this one, just with
These
the terms changes. Yes, ma'am. There won't be anything changed other than the terms. And we can present you with a
Write it down.
copy of it.
I did,
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
except for the last part you wanted added.
Just make sure you say new contract.
So I'd like to make a motion that we do a new contract with Wardlaw Appraisal Group. It'll be a 3-year with a 2-year option starting October 1st, 2021.
With board approval.
With board approval. The amount will be $405,000 the first year, $410,000 the second year, and $415,000 the third year.
Beautiful.
You might want, in order to make it clear, I'm sorry, you might want to state that it is with the option to renew at the end of the 3-year contract.
I did. I said with the 2-year option.
But yeah, clarify that it's an option
To renew.
Yeah, to renew.
Okay?
I'll second that.
And that be put into the document.
Yes, sir. We'll put it in as a renewal 2-year option on board approval.
Okay,
There you go.
okay. There's the motion. Is there a second? I have a motion and a second. Is there?
I have one more
Yes,
question
sir.
for
Yes, sir.
clarification. So the renewal would be up to 2 years. We don't have to go to 2 years, right?
Correct.
It could be for 1 year.
Could be.
Correct.
And then we could extend it another year after that first year, or we could do the full 2 years at the end
Correct.
of the year.
Or you could do none.
Right,
Correct.
for the option.
We'll make sure that in the language it does state it so that you will know exactly that it could be 1, 2, or none.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at least we'll have a renewal language in there, which we don't have in now. So that will help the board.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we have had discussion. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion does carry.
Thank you, board members.
Thank you.
Now we can go to item number 6, discussion and possible action regarding a resolution to encumber funds for litigation reserve.
For the new board members, and as a reminder to the other board members, several years ago, when we were having a lot of lawsuits, it's very expensive to get the reports and everything, as you well have heard on some of the discussions we've had. So the board approved the property tax code allows an appraisal district not to have a reserve, not to have a savings account, not to have a rainy day fund, not to invest in property, but they do allow an appraisal district to encumber funds for a specific purpose. So we started encumbering funds specifically for litigation. And we started off with about $600,000, and every year we would replace what we used, so we kept that, because what that does is that gives us that plus our line item in the budget. We could have at least $1 million. At that time, the refinery was filing lawsuits every year, and it was going to be $1 million to $1.5 million if we had to go all the way through with that. So we were trying to come up with a way to have the funds. Last year, because we just rolled the budget over, we did not really increase the litigation line item. Plus, when it came to September, we have to encumber funds before the beginning of our new fiscal year. Our fiscal year is October 1. So this is it. If we don't encumber funds today, then we wait a whole year. Well, last year, we did not have quorum, so we did not have a meeting. So we weren't able to replenish that. We're down to $180,000, which we're probably going to spend about another $120,000, so leaving us with about $40,000. I'm asking the board, I worked with Ms. Goldman to find out. What we do is we take the funds, the appraisal district not being allowed to save it at the end of our year when we do our audit. Anything over what was not spent, because we're very diligent and we pinch pennies. I've got Scotch blood in me, so I'm a real good penny pincher. That money goes back to the entities in the way of a credit on the payments that the entities pay quarterly into the appraisal district budget. So what we did is we looked at forecast what the next 2.5 months might be. And we're looking at the lowest end that looks like we'll be able to return is 900,000. Probably going to be a little bit higher than that, maybe about 970 to 980,000 that we'll be turning over. We already have over 1,300 lawsuits filed. We know that several of those we will have to take to trial. A lot of them we're going to have to settle because we just can't take 1,300 lawsuits. But that means we're going to have to do a lot of reports. So we're asking to replenish this by adding 600,000 to the encumbered fund for our litigation. That will then take us to where we're over $1 million overall. And one of the things that we found with having this really strong, healthy encumbered funds is the attorneys and the property tax agents know that the board is supporting, hey, do what you need to do. Get those reports, follow through with those lawsuits, have your mediations, go to trial, because we do have the funds to do that. We can't do every one, but we can do the big ticket items or the big items that would create a legal precedent. Those are the ones that we look at. So we are asking 600,000 to be put to replenish our very, very dwindling encumbered funds.
Just a thought to the board, she's talking about, we started with 600,000 when we started encumbering funds. You're projecting that there will be somewhere in the area of 900,000 that will be eligible to, that's the revenue stream, basically.
We understood it, you said $960,000, you're gonna goes back to the entities.
Go back to the
And
entities.
you want us to take $600,000 from there?
Yes, sir.
And I'm wondering,
Take it all.
well, maybe not all of it, but when you think about $900,000 split, how many districts do you have?
36.
I mean, it's not going to be a huge hit. El Paso School District and El Paso will get the heaviest hit, but we're still not talking about budget ruining dollars.
Right.
I can tell you right now,
So I'm wondering if we shouldn't keep that reserve as healthy as we can keep it. I don't know what your entities,
Are they gonna come back to us?
are they gonna come back
Yeah.
to us?
no.
Mine's not. I know that. I don't know about El Paso School District. They're the ones that pay the most. Would they come back if they didn't get a return this year?
We would.
Yeah, you would.
I know some of them have said that it's not money that they budget.
Right.
At one time, I think the city did budget as that reserve. At 22%, I believe El Paso ISD and the city of El Paso are about 20%. That's 132,000 that would go back to them from the 900,000.
Okay, so you're talking about 132,000. If we encumbered 600, that's going to be reduced by a little more than half. So you're still looking at,
You'll get something back.
you'll get
Yeah.
70,000. What I'm wondering is, could we go up to 700,000 or to increase that reserve? We could still offer some return, but I really think that encumbered balance has more value to us in protecting us from litigation.
Dana, let me ask you a quick question. Wait a minute. How did you come up with 600,000? Why 600,000?
That's what we had, that's what we've had in the past that the board has approved. But what's happened in the past is we still had monies left over. I think at one point we had about 250,000 left over. So when we added the 600,000, we had a really strong, healthy. But because we weren't able to add any, we've really depleted where we're at. So the reason I came up with the 600,000 is that's kind of what we've always put in there.
And I agree with Walter, we should go a little higher.
Now, I did speak with Ms. Goldman. Our goal, and I can't promise anything because, of course, we have to wait for the audit. Our goal is to try to get to closer to Normally, we have about $1 million left over that gets divided amongst everybody. Those of you that have been on the board for a while, you know that we've had that. There was only one year that we ended up down to about 900,000, but we normally have about $1 million. So, but I was trying to give you a worst-case scenario, but if you look at the last several years, we have had closer to $1 million, or a little over $1 million, that we've been able to take 600 from and have 400,000 that then gets reimbursed back to the entities by the percentage that they pay in. So if you pay 20% in, then you get 20% of that refund, that difference.
I think there's a considerable value in having that very robust reserve, and an indication from this board that we want to maintain that reserve. That's certainly, as you said, a signal to the legal community that it's not, that is an added protection to our taxpayers. So, do we want to take it all? I don't think so. But as you said, we've been paying $600,000 for years. There's inflation in everything. I might suggest to add another 100,000 to that, and just as a signal to the community that we are going to continue to insist on fair values.
Chairman.
That would be my argument. Mr. Stout.
But one thing that I heard Ms. Kilgore say was that they've done 600,000 in the past, but they'd had already a kind of a cushion in there of like 200,000 or something like that. So the total was like 800,000, right? I mean, do we want to? So if we only did 700,000, I guess we would be close to that. But
Because I think you said we'll be down to 40, right?
you're done
Pretty
to 40,
close to
so
it, but
you-
yes, we still have a couple more months. Now, here's one thing I can bring to the board's attention. We have in the past, when we have utilized everything, because we have utilized where we have zero, we've used up the line item in the budget, we've used up the reserves, but we do have what we call contingency money for a contingency, and that contingency is 10% of our operating. That's more like if the building, we have a fire, heaven forbid, it doesn't happen, but, the roof blows off, we have that contingency. That's an accounting purpose. We have gone to that to pull out a little bit. But if you have any major issues, like when we had COVID, we had to pull, what was it, 250,000? Isn't that what it was that we had to pull out to pay for a lot of the COVID stuff that we had to do? So, but that there is that we have pulled in the past. But then you run into an issue of if something else comes up, parking lot issue, the roof, that type of thing, it comes out of that.
Just one question, one comment. The question, not that I want to do this, but I just want to understand, if we were not to approve, what are the long-term implications for the CAD?
We would not be able to fight anything.
Okay.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so I do remember in 2019, we were at $1 million, I believe. And even then I thought that was low in comparison to the amount of litigation we were facing. So based on the amount of people that are protesting now due to the higher valuations, which are going to be inducing more people to protest, I think we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that is healthy.
Sure.
So my question is, is that in the form of a budget amendment that we need to do?
No, it's not, it's because we can't do it pre-budget. It has to be done pre-fiscal year. So what you're doing basically is you're stating, it shows up on our budget as an encumbered fund, but it's not a budgeted item. It's just an action, a resolution, because it will be a resolution that will be signed by the chairperson, the chairman, that you are setting an encumbered fund for the tax year 2021, 2022 of X amount of dollars to add to what's already to the 180. Yeah.
And let's just earmark that, and we'll talk about it as a board, but we need to earmark that healthier amount for the future.
For the future, yeah, and that was my argument.
See, every year, even if we did nothing with it and had no lawsuits, I would still have to come back to you next year to say, can we keep
still
this
keep it?
in the litigation? The reason we didn't last year is because we didn't have a board meeting. So it just kind of hung out there and really, wasn't acted on by the board. So every year I will come to you in September to say, add to it, leave it alone, take it away. One year we had them, said, no, take all the money out and give it all back to the entities. That was really rough, that next year. So, every September I'll come to you and ask you to pass a resolution to encumber this.
Another question. Where is this money at right now? Is it in our general fund and we just transfer it into the encumbered funds or how?
Yes.
So we just-
It's just in the general fund, but it is booked as only for that purpose.
My next question, Jackie, you mentioned that in March, approximately March, their bubble was going to burst. How is that going to affect us via property-wise? Do we need to be prepared for that or what?
It'll, just like this year, we'll have more lawsuits next year.
Well,
And
maybe we
here's
should keep all the money.
That's just my
right,
opinion.
and here's,
There will be.
yeah, I know, there will be. And here's the thing, guys,
Like, wait.
the courts still have us at the bottom. We are at the bottom of the list to be heard by the judges. So we're working through mediation, of course, deliberations, whatever we can do, mostly mediations. Now, mediation costs me $2,000 a day for mediation. So that is part of what comes out of here. And when we have 2-3 weeks of mediations in a row, I mean, that's $2,000 a day, no matter what we have. Not just me, but it costs the other side too.
That's 2,000 for how many mediations a day? How
It could be
many?
one or it could be 10.
Who's the mediator?
It's a full-day
There's several.
mediation.
It's a
Full-day
full day.
mediation, generally, we go in with 8 to 12 cases.
That's
And
actually
generally-
fair.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
It's
Oh, No,
fair.
no, it's not bad, but it does come out of this, so we're trying to do that. But for any court case, we're at the bottom of the list. So eventually, it will come around to where we can go to court, but by then, we'll have 2022 that will be added to it. So we just need to have, I'm very concerned, board members, to be honest with you, that we've gotten so low in our reserve. I'm very concerned about it.
So we have, I'm sorry, so we have 900 even,
Well, we will.
is what we'll have.
Well, we're hoping at the end of the year when we do the audit is done, they start coming in towards the end of October, and they do an audit, we present you with an audit report in February. But Ms. Goldman and her group in accounting got together and looked at anywhere from 900,000 worst case turnover, or, leftover,
Okay.
up to about $1 million, a little over $1 million. So anywhere between there, we feel like we'll have that money that will be left over that will be refunded back to the entities. Historically, over the last, I think, 5 years for sure, we've turned over $1 million. There was 1 year within the last 10 years that we only had just right around, I think, 900,000. But mostly it's been over. For those of you that have been on, Mr. Avalos, I know you've been on for a while, so you know.
Well, I just think that we could bump that. Your request is 6, but, 750 would put us in a more comfortable range. We're still going to be able to return some monies to the school districts or to the taxing entities, but we get you back whole again with where you need to be there.
Well, then anything we do does benefit the taxing entities. The more we can try to settle and save does benefit.
So I'm new to this, so my question, I understand where you come from too. How bad would it be if you don't get money back, and is 700 gonna be enough? So, because this is my first year, so
I'm not here to try and get any money back from the district. I mean, as a board member here, we have a fiduciary responsibility
To make
to
sure we're
to
covered.
this organization. I mean,
Exactly.
personally, I'd like to not fight anything and make sure that people have money in their pockets, but that's not my job here. So that fund needs to be extremely healthy, and we need to make sure that our people can do their jobs.
Make a motion.
Well-
So I'm thinking, so my question to you, since this is my first year, is 700 going to be enough, or are you going to need the 900?
Well, we
That's
have-
not even gonna be enough.
See,
No,
that's
it's
where
never
I'm
enough,
worried
right,
now.
Commissioner Sal? When you start talking about lawsuits, But we have in the line item, beginning October 1, and under our legal services, we have $641,000 that the board approved. So if we add $700,000 to that, we're at, $1.3 million. So that would be very, very healthy that we could start on, and of course,
I'd like to make a motion for 750,000.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Have a second from Ms. York. The motion before us is to encumber $750,000 into the, what do you call it, fund?
Encumbrance.
The encumbered fund, encumbered legal fund, is the motion before us. Yes, ma'am.
May I ask clarification? Is this in addition to currently the 180,565
Yes, ma'am.
that we have in there? This is adding to that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
That's where,
Is that okay?
yes.
Thank you.
So that's part of your motion.
That's my
Is
motion.
there further discussion on this item?
I truly believe that we're still under, but
I think we should do more, but
if you,
we
if
can
you.
vote on yours,
if you
and
want-
then if it passes, it passes. But I think we should do more.
I mean, I actually think we should do more, but can you come back to us?
No, sir.
No?
We can
This is
only
It
do
has to be
it,
done before the,
So
Then don't
if,
approve it.
if we need some further discussion, we
Sorry.
can disapprove this item and then go back to discussion on this thing.
Okay.
So I need to, since it is been motioned and seconded, I need to ask all in favor.
Well, okay, go
Okay.
ahead. We could vote it down. I was gonna say, or we could amend it.
Vote it down.
We'll just vote it
And then
down.
we'll rebid
Okay.
it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carried. Now, we can continue our
Nice try.
discussion here. And anybody but Mr. Mena can talk.
Try again, Mr. Mena.
A for effort, man. A for,
Will somebody do it? Do it the night.
No, you should do it. You should do it.
Nah, come on. All right. Motion. Okay, I'd like to request another motion, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Mena,
For 960,000, is that the correct amount, Ms. Kilgore?
do 900,000.
900, yeah.
900,000,
In addition to what we currently
In
have,
addition to the
180,
181.
565.
65 that we have in there now. So motion for 900,000, and in addition to the 181,000 that we have in there now, and 65. Motion.
Okay,
Second.
there is a motion. I have a motion from Mr. Mena, a second from Mr. Avalos. Is there further discussion on that item? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this motion carries.
Thank you, board members.
Right.
Thank you for
You're
letting us know.
set.
Feel a lot better. Especially as I keep getting served every day by more and more suits.
And for the record, it was just my opinion.
You see what you did?
But see, Freddie just agreed, so.
No, I'm really happy that Ms. York is here. She's presided over many Realtor associations. She's one of the powerhouses of the Realtor and real estate community, so we have a huge, great asset here.
We're very happy,
Okay.
yeah.
Mr. Avalos, we are at the conclusion of our action items, so if you need to be excused.
Sorry, guys, I have to go to a board mitzvah, so I'm
Okay,
happy to be here for
see you.
what I could.
Well, we have a great presentation, so maybe we can email it to you.
if I might,
That my HR department would like to present to you.
Thank you, guys.
if I understand the rule, we can certainly listen to the presentation,
Yes.
but we can have no discussion. We'll have quorum, 'cause we do
Thank
have-
you, guys, and it's nice to see everybody in person.
Bye, Freddie.
Thank you.
Take care.
Adjourn right now?
Can I take this
Adjourn later.
word law presentation? Okay.
Mazel tov.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you,
take-
thank you.
Yeah, anything.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
No,
you.
keep it even, guys. Thank you.
Okay, presentation?
Thank you, guys. Good afternoon.
Okay, our first presentation is item number 7, the EPCAD Community Outreach.
Remember last, Dina, can you get the lights, please? Last board meeting, I told you that we did a backpack drive. Well, the schools that we did for Tornillo and San Eli, they sent us some photos, and we thought the board would enjoy seeing that, and they sent a little video. Okay, Robert Garcia from my HR is going to give a little presentation.
Just real quick, good evening, Board of Directors. My name is Robert Garcia. I am the Project Coordinator, HR Assistant here at the El Paso Central Appraisal District. My job here at the Appraisal District is to continue to keep the El Paso Central Appraisal District engaged with the community, as well as keeping our environment here for our employees happy and healthy. I had the honor to work on this project with the school district. I had to do some research because, as we all know, during this back-to-school season,
Robert, you need to stay with the mic.
during the back-to-school season, a lot of the school districts did provide school supplies to the students. So I had some homework, and I had to call a couple of schools, school districts, and finally I was able to get a hold of Tornillo Independent School District and the school Zambrano Elementary in San Elizario, that unfortunately they weren't able to obtain school supplies from different organizations, so we were able to offer that to the students there. So the following presentation is something that I put together, pictures from the day of the delivery, and at the very end you'll see a video of when the students were actually getting their backpacks. Now tomorrow I will be attending a ceremony at Zambrano Elementary where I'll have the honor to hand out the backpacks to the students. I do want to point out that the staff did a lot of participation. It was 100% participation. Their generosity was incredible. I think Dinah can agree to that. We
Got a
did
contest. Everybody was in competition. I loved it. And I will tell the board, I had asked for to be anonymous for this. We don't do this to be recognized. We do this because we want to help the community. The school districts, the San Elizario and Tornillo school districts, were so happy they wanted to recognize us. We did not go out for recognition. We don't, that's not what we like to do it for. So that's why I wanted to be able to show the board this. Okay,
we did collect 350 backpacks, so 150 went to one school and 150 went to the other school.
Awesome.
Plus several boxes of individual supplies that we sent.
Yes, so I hope you guys enjoy this as much as we did.
We like to be able to recognize our employees too, so this is a way of recognizing the teamwork that we do. Those are all the district cars we loaded up. How many cars did we end up with? 15 of our district cars were loaded. 350. I believe in your packet you received the thank you letters. Board members, you did? Okay, good. Just in case, little clarification, every one of those backpacks was filled to the brim with supplies, box of Kleenex, pencil boxes, they were filled with stuff. So when they got a backpack, it wasn't just a backpack, it was a backpack filled with anything you can imagine. These were photos that were sent over from Tornillo, superintendent. were in their backpacks. I was so proud of our staff. They just really got into the competition. And what was so nice is the schools, Tornillo and San Eli both said, especially Tornillo, they're so far rural, and they're so far out in the county that they tend to be forgotten. And they said this is the first time, I guess ever in a long time, that they had gotten this kind of response. So we were so excited that we were able to make a difference, and for the staff. So thank you for letting me show you that.
Thank you for,
Thank you for doing that. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
We do a lot of things people don't know.
And you know
really
what?
good.
Next time you guys do something like that, I would have gone with you guys and
We'll invite the board members, yes, definitely. We'll include you
I'll go.
in our collection. Okay,
participate.
we will. Robert, and I will say this, Robert's done a great job. HR has really done a great job, Robert Garcia, on doing things for the employees. We had our, in August, when the protest season was pretty much over, before everybody started going out in the field, we had our Hawaiian Day picnic that he coordinated, and we had a cookout for the employees on our back patio for lunch. And so we're trying to do a lot of things like that. And so I'm really, really pleased with what all they're doing. So, okay, thank you, Robert.
thank you very much, sir.
Very nice.
Great job.
Okay, we can go on to item number 8, which is a taxpayer liaison report.
Good evening, Board of Directors. Tracy Carter, Taxpayer Liaison Officer. I wanted to give you an update on our Appraisal Review Board member search. In September 26th, is going to be our last advertisement. We're looking for ARB members. We do have 19 openings, and I have already received 12 applications. There's still some applications I have not received for members that need to reapply. There's about 5 ARB members that need to reapply again. And also, I did inform all the ARB members know that if they're interested for chairman of the Appraisal Review Board, if they're interested in being part of secretary of the Appraisal Review Board, please let me know. And I already received applications for both. And then in front of you all, I do have a blue folder. And on your right-hand side, you'll see that I did receive administrative complaint form. But that administrative complaint form was based on the Appraisal Review Board. The property owner was upset that he felt that he didn't get his full 3 minutes to present his evidence. But what happened was when the chairman of the panel passed the floor over to him, 25 seconds had gone by. Then he stated, "May I begin?" So, of course, the timer had already started. So as he was presenting the evidence, the ARB chairman of the panel interrupted to explain to him that everything that he was presenting was under a different protest. The property owner filed the wrong protest. He filed the protest under unequal, and everything that he was presenting was under market. He was stating how the property right across the street sold in June for $185,000, and all the repair work that he needs for the stucco of his home and how his home needs to be repainted, and the cost would be $11,500. So that is why the ARB chairman interrupted his evidence. So what the Appraisal Review Board did is they went ahead and they gave him an additional 20 seconds to present. So he presented his evidence. And so the ARB set the value. So he was very upset. He felt that he didn't have a fair shot. So I did speak to the ARB chairman, Ms. Calderon, and I told her everything that happened, all the problems that he was discussing with me. And she said she felt that the property owner was given the allotted time to present, that he was even given additional time, and that he had a minute to rebut Central Appraisal District's evidence, and he only used 37 seconds of it when he had a whole minute. So she felt that he had the time to present his evidence. So I did speak with the property owner. I did explain to him the different types of protests, that he could have filed both protests. He could have filed the market and unequal, but that he only filed the unequal. So the property owner did understand what happened, and he was very gracious that I took the time to explain to him all the different types of protests that we have. And the good thing about this is the state legislator on Senate Bill 63, Section 41.44, the protest form will now have a box dedicated to both protests. So hopefully we won't have that problem anymore. They'll be able to hit for market value and unequal on that. And then also we have another complaint that I attached in the folder that I got with an email. And I did want to mention to you all that I've been working with the tax entities for the Truth in Taxation website, and most of the tax entities have been putting in their information, so it's looking really good. It's helpful for the property owners, for the community to take a look to see how much taxes they'll be paying, to get a good idea of that, and when the tax entities are having their meetings and the rates. So thank you all very much. Do you all have any questions?
No, we don't.
Thank you.
We can't. I think you could answer that.
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you for your report. And the last item on our agenda is item number 9, the chief appraiser's report.
Thank you. Board members, I have some amazing news. As you so well know, we have 2 studies that the state comptroller's office does on the appraisal districts, the property valuation study, and then, of course, the methods and assistance program review, our MAPS review that they do. One is done 1 year, one is done the following year. 2021 is our MAPS review. We received our preliminary review totals. We passed all that's required to be passed. We met all of the ratings, and we passed at 100%. So they will be sending at first of the year this to all of the school districts, taxing entities. So it's just their first preliminary review. So they have to wait for everybody that didn't pass to be able to correct anything that was recommended. But I couldn't wait till January. So I had to tell you guys, I'm very, very proud of that. So kudos to James Thompson. I don't know if he's here. Yeah, there he is. Bill Gonzalez is head of his statistical. James is director of appraisal. And so Bill Gonzalez's statistical department is the one that puts all this together to send through. I know some of you have seen Bill when we've done a presentation on the property value study. So we're very excited. That's a kudos. Also, to let y'all know, we're working again, HR and Robert Garcia. We are working with the local Army National Guard. They are going to provide vaccines. We're going to allow them the use of our parking lot. They're going to provide vaccines for anybody, employees, family, friends, neighbors, anybody who drives by. We're going to let them use the parking lot for vaccines of the Moderna or Pfizer first or second doses. And this is going to be September 22nd. They'll be here from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So anybody who hasn't gotten a vaccine and wants to, we are working with the Army National Guard to allow that. We're also getting ready on October 13th to have a wellness center here at the appraisal district for the employees. We have several participating companies that will be here. We have a couple of gyms, some nutrition centers, Sprouts Farmers Market, vegan market, Grow Together Vegan Market. We have a lot, and plus the flu shots that will be given to employees only. But so we're having the health fair that's going to be here in October for the employees. And last but not least, Mr. Miller has a packet to hand out. My evaluation, we do an evaluation every year. The board of directors do for the chief appraiser. So we need to get that out so we can put it on the October agenda. Mr. Miller, we have packets. Everything is in there. If you have any questions, you go directly to Mr. Miller. And of course, you fill it out and send it. There's an envelope in there with a stamp to Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, if you'd like to address the board on that?
Just exactly what she said. I will send all these to you and expect a return. Unfortunately, we can't discuss this process right now, but that's what it'll be. It's a very, very simple, fill it out and send it back in.
And it'll be on the
Then
agenda in
I will
October.
tabulate and then we'll go from there.
Those board members that are not here, we'll make sure they'll be mailed to them. And then everything goes to Mr. Miller, not to me. He gets them, reviews them, asks any questions of the board members, tabulates and whatever. We'll put it on the October agenda if that's all right with the board. We put it under executive session, but it can come out of executive session or go into executive session at my discretion. So we'll do that, finish up the year with that. And that's all I have.
Okay, being no further items on the agenda, I would no, I can't. I'm sorry, we can't have action.
We're done.
We have no action. so.
Yep, no action, we're done. Adjourn, I guess? Can we adjourn? Yes.
Have to adjourn. We were
Yeah.
adjourned.